What's up, everybody? Welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. I'm Drew Bosa. You find me on Twitter at ArtisticGamer28, and that's the one, the only is Scott Savage. You can find him on Twitter at Savage. First of all, shout out to everybody in our Twitch chat that helped us out. Let us know we had a bit of an issue going on with some Scott sound effects here, so nobody can hear him.
Well, it's like Rainbow Six Siege. You know, sometimes you need to warm up around.
Dude, my computer was just like resetting stuff. I have no idea what was going on. So, but anyways, everybody can join us live over on twitch.tv/theofficialITG, as well as YouTube at Inside the Game Official. But if you can't join us live, hit us up later. InsideTheGame.ca, podcast services, and TV streaming networks around the globe. Coming up on today's show, Scott, PlayStation looks to compete against Xbox with their own Game Pass service. Phil Spencer thinks the Xbox of today could have kept Bungie, and The Witcher 4 will feature multiplayer. Anybody really surprised by that?
I'm kind of surprised it's not coming out in the form of an MMO RPG, you know? Because that's how it went last time with Skyrim. I thought this could have multiplayer and it'd be beautiful, but it was a little different.
It was not working out for them. Well, we'll get into it. Dude, let's get going in the world of PlayStation, because right now, PlayStation plans new service to take on Xbox Game Pass. This comes from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg. Sony Group Corp PlayStation division is planning a new subscription service to compete with rival Microsoft's Xbox for the Game Pass model. According to people familiar with Sony's plans and documents reviewed by Bloomberg. The service, codenamed Spartacus, will allow PlayStation owners to pay a monthly fee to access a catalog of modern and classic games, said to the people who asked not to be identified because they weren't authorized to speak to the press about the plans. No kidding. The offering will likely be available on the smash hit PlayStation 4, which has sold more than 116 million units, and the elusive successor, the PlayStation 5, which launched more than a year ago, but is still difficult to buy due to the issue with everything. Nobody can get a console, Scott, still. Why can't we get a console yet?
No, there's still melees breaking out whenever those few consoles are found.
When it launches, expect in the spring, the service will merge Sony's two existing subscription plans, PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now. Currently, PlayStation Plus is required for most online multiplayer games and offers free monthly titles, while PlayStation Now allows users to stream or download older titles. Documents reviewed by Bloomberg suggest that Sony plans to retain the PlayStation Plus branding but phase out PlayStation Now. I don't think PlayStation Now is kind of really hit home with a lot of people. I know there are those who are using it. However, there's definitely a few that are not using it, Scott.
I've heard there's some issues off and on with it too, in terms of what can load, what works on the cloud, that kind of things. But
yeah,
I'm sure they've figured out the majority of those problems. But I actually made this prediction several months ago, I think, where I joked about the PlayStation coming out with a Game Pass alternative, and I called it the Play Pass. But I don't hate the idea of I am Spartacus.
Oh man, that's not bad, Scott. I don't know if they'll take it, but we'll see. Details on Spartacus may still not be finalized, but documentation revealed by Bloomberg outlines a service with 3 tiers. This is where I kind of get a little like, why would you do this? The first would include existing PlayStation Plus benefits. The second would offer a large catalog of PlayStation 4 and eventually PlayStation 5 games. The third tier would add extended demos, game streaming, and a library of classic PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP. Hey, first of all, Scott, where the heck is the Vita? I just realized there's no Vita there. What?
Yeah, I just realized too. I think that's a huge one. Of course, PSP is probably very elusive, but
sure,
the Vita was that expressed much further.
3 different tiers. What pay structure are we getting into? Because right now, I think Plus is around $80 alone. So we get rid of PlayStation Now. If anybody hit me up in chat right now, let me know what PlayStation Now is worth. I'm not really sure. So let me know there. And then if they get 3 tiers. 1, it sounds like it's a basic model, Scott. Super, super basic, right? 2 will get you in for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 games. And then 3 will get you, hopefully, by sounds things, everything is kind of the deal, right? Way back to PlayStation 1. Dude, like, you can play Metal Gear 1.
You
Yeah.
know, when are they ever going to put PT out in a digital form? Do you think it's ever going to happen?
Not a chance. That thing is dead. If you have it on your PlayStation 3 right
It would
now,
be 30.
hold on to that thing because you'll never see it again.
Yeah, you have to go replace that CMOS battery before it becomes critical.
Oh man, absolutely. Although the PlayStation has outsold the Xbox in recent years, Sony has lagged behind Microsoft on the subscription front. With this new structure, Sony will look to compete with an Xbox feature that has been popular and lucrative. Dude, we talk about Xbox Game Pass all the time. How big of a move that was for Microsoft to get into with this and Xbox to take this service and really kind of be game defining a moment here within the industry and how to progress into almost like a Netflix-esque service, right? And that's how video games are perceived now when you think about Xbox. Can they do that? Will they do that, Scott, with day one releases for PlayStation 5 moving forward? The next Spider-Man comes to this. They won't call it Game Pass because that's a Microsoft thing, but whatever that Game Pass subscription service is for PlayStation, will they get day and day games as well? That's the biggest get right now for Microsoft is on Wednesday when Halo drops. Everybody gets it who has Game Pass Ultimate or Game Pass, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm curious, actually, in the case of Halo. Do we have to wait until midnight in our time zone, or do you think it's like a 12 o'clock noon on the 8th?
I don't know how that one
To
works.
assure that everybody gets at the same time?
Yeah, I'm sure it drops. So our review dropped this morning at 3 a.m. So that tells me it's like a different time zone somewhere else for somebody else, right? So it kind of, they're all tiered. It just kind of, here's where it drops, boom, way you go and go get it. I think for us, it's like midnight tonight though, or midnight on Tuesday night. The minute it rolls into Wednesday, boom, you should be able to play. I don't know.
Oh man, I gotta stock up on energy drinks because that's gonna be a long one.
We're
gonna see my eyes on Thursday. That's gonna be rough.
I think I'm somewhere in around 15 hours when I finish up the campaign. But there's a bunch of side content in there and stuff like that. Go check out the review, insidethegame.ca. But let's keep going in the world of Xbox now, how we went from PlayStation service to Xbox. Phil Spencer thinks modern day Xbox could have kept Bungie. The Xbox boss has been discussing the Halo creators ahead of the company's 30th anniversary. This comes from Jordan Midler over at VGC. Microsoft's head of gaming, Phil Spencer, has said that he believes that modern Microsoft ecosystem may have allowed the company to retain Bungie, the team behind Halo and Destiny. Bungie was acquired by Microsoft in 2000. Yeah, it's in 2000. Dude, that's a while ago. Ahead of its first mega hit, Halo Combat Evolved. 7 years later, Bungie was allowed to split from Microsoft and once again become a privately held independent company, Bungie LLC, while Microsoft retained ownership of the Halo franchise. Well, that was a good move, I think. Speaking to Axios, in a new interview, Spencer conceded that he understands why the developer left Microsoft, saying, at the time, they had big ambitions. They had sold their business for a certain amount of money. That they saw what Halo turned into, and it's okay. Okay, what? And it's like, okay, Microsoft benefited more than Bungie did from the success of Halo. There's no other story that can be written there. Yeah. Scott, well, I'm going to stop you right there. What do you think of that statement?
It sounds like that is the way it goes, but you take a big pay for producing something like that. It's not like it was done for free. And that kind of suggesting that Microsoft got all of the benefit to it, I don't know if that's very accurate.
Right.
It put Bungie on the map. They're not making marathons still.
Yeah, it did, really. Right, the minute Halo launched, everybody's talking about Xbox, and Halo. Right, that was the thing. Ooh, Halo. Have you played Halo? Hey, have you heard about this game, Halo? And that's where the two kind of almost like grew up together in a sense. He continued referencing Bungie's next big hit, the sci-fi shooter Destiny. Quote, if you're saying, hey, I think I've got another one of these in me, I want to really take another chance. I can understand the allure of doing this as an independent company, end quote. So that's what they went to Activision too, though, Scott, for a while. I'm not seeing that here within the article. During a recent GQ profile, the Xbox boss revealed that Microsoft is pushing him to line up his successor. Quote, clearly, as somebody who has been here for 33 years, I have more years behind me than ahead of me. Wow. End quote. That sucks. He told GQ, quote, but the longevity of this team, the sustainability of the team, there's nothing that's more important to me right now than that. End quote. At least Phil's thinking about the future. Scott, he's lining things up. But what do you think comes next? They're still in the discussions of more acquisitions. They're still looking to acquire other studios. So
I'm sure there's more accusations to come too. That's a sad turn this year.
But. That's probably another company. Well, you never know. But either way,
I did make an offhand joke. This is quite an offhand joke where I said, "What if Microsoft purchases Sony's gaming division?" That's obviously not going to happen.
But... No, not at all. Not at all.
I'm thinking, what if they acquired some of the mobile division though? Get some of those people that worked on the PSP, the Vita, and kind of spot pick them for your side. That would be, we're getting into some like television territory here. That stuff doesn't happen in real life, but that would be amazing.
Well, you kind of wonder where they're going to acquire another studio. Because they said not too long ago that they're not done yet, right? So will they get? Can you imagine they pulled in the reins on Bungie somehow? Bungie right now has been independent for a while. Are they comfortable and looking into the future and are okay with staying that way? Or are they looking for maybe some of that Microsoft help and stuff like that, right? Almost an xCloud exclusive for games, he says Nate over at ITG Parker in our Twitch chat. Absolutely. You never know what the possibility here lies in the future. But Phil Spencer is obviously, that's where he's looking now. He sees that retirement probably not too far off in the upcoming years, but he's still lining everybody up. Oh man, it's gonna be a sad day to lose him, isn't it?
Yeah, he's been on there for so long. I mean, what did he say? 30 years now?
33 years.
33 years.
He's been really, honestly, he's been pivotal, turning around the Xbox One into what it turned out to be, and then moving forward into the Xbox Series of X and X, right? So to see him now look to the future and go, hey, this isn't really going to pertain to all of me anymore, because he's probably looking at retirement. I'm like, yep, I get it. Man, I get it, but it will be sadly missed when he does do that. Hopefully, he's still got a lot more years in him, though. So he says, quote, you should do it when you think about the long-term health of the team, to make sure the team is in a good place, that the culture of the company is in a good place, and that we're making the right decisions on who to bet on. Well, that has to go outlive me, end quote, he says. So he's building up. Well, he's building for it, man.
He's seeing something that's bigger than himself, and he's recognizing that maybe it's time to step away soon, or that's coming up. But yeah, it's good that he's long-range minded. Of course, that's how he got to the position that he's in.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it takes that kind of mindset, I think, to then drive your company forward, right? I think that's what he's done there with Xbox. So it's really great. Scott, let's see about the future, though, of CD Projekt Red as The Witcher 4 controversial feature hinted at by developer. This comes from Tyler Fisher over at comicbook.com. CD Projekt Red has hinted at potentially implementing a controversial feature, or at least a controversial feature as far as The Witcher fans are concerned, in The Witcher 4, or whatever the next installment of the series ends up being called. CD Projekt Red has already confirmed that the development of the next game in the Witcher series will begin next year. Right now, this is all the Polish developer is saying about the game. Well, for the most part, during a recent earnings call with investors, CD Projekt Red further hinted at the title. Speaking to investors, CD Projekt Red President Adam Klaczynski noted that the multiplayer will gradually be introduced to both of the company's core series, Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher. Up until this point, the latter has been a strictly narrative-driven single-player experience, but that may change with the next installment. Quote, we're planning to add multiplayer functionality in the future to both franchises, including Cyberpunk, gradually, end quote, said Kwasinski. Quote, we're not revealing which franchise will be the first to receive such functionality, but the first attempt will be something we can learn from, and then we can add more and more. So, step and step.
Well, if I were them, I'd be going with putting it on Cyberpunk just in case it doesn't work out. That's the one that's already on fire and they're learning from it. So you don't want to compromise The Witcher, the main revenue source for this company. It's just Oh, how do you think Witcher 4 would work multiplayer? Do you think it would do like
I'm kind
a
of
one versus many, or like the way Doom Eternal does it, where some of you are the bad guy?
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking more along the lines of Monster Hunter.
That would actually
Right?
that would work out
That
really
would
well.
really work out well in this case. Take that Monster Hunter model where you can group up with your friends, and away you go. Do a separate side quests, do monster takedowns, or whatever you got to do to go out there, get your material, craft up other stuff, and then move on to the next one, dude, and get your loot, and away you go. They could really turn this into a co-op experience for the next Witcher franchise or series, and I think it would be fantastic. I know a lot of people are like, whoa, this is The Witcher. Like, we have a dedicated single player story that's been incredible over the years, and I get that. But at the end of the day, what you look at now is how can we get into the multiplayer side of things so we can keep our game alive even more. Now, having said that, Scott, I'm going to backtrack a little bit because people are still playing The Witcher 3.
Oh yeah, and they will be for years to come. But
right?
You don't want to lose that first single player strength. You don't want to lose that by adding multiplayer in it. So I hope they find a way to preserve that, because the long-standing fans of the series, they don't need multiplayer.
Absolutely not. And I think that's the biggest thing we've seen as of recently too, is this shift back into single player games. So that not everything needs to have a heavy focus on multiplayer, because we really just want to sometimes get in there, play the game, play the story, enjoy that piece of content, and then move on to whatever's next. Right? Like, Insomniac is great with story single player content. That's why we have Spider-Man, Last of Us, right? Like, those are single player stories, and they were fantastic. So there's a lot more coming down the line. I don't think it's going anywhere, but they're going to implement subtle changes here with the whole multiplayer feature. But dude, if they could line it up with like the Monster Hunter sort of co-op experience, whoo, I'd be down for that.
Could work really well. I'm thinking maybe a hunt showdown kind of side mode.
Ooh,
so that it doesn't interfere with the main very much, but it's you
cool.
load into another map and do it. That could be interesting.
Everybody hunts down one monster. Like, dude, there's like so many options here.
Well, and how do who picks? Do you all look the same? Is one of you Henry Cavill? Is it how do you choose?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Who plays who? Maybe you go out and then you form. Maybe it turns into like Red Dead Online, where you form your own Witcher character.
Ooh, Witcher school you can come from, and there can be many of
it's
you.
the Witcher Hogwarts, dude. You can go to Witcher Hogwarts, and then. All right, let's get going in the world of Xbox once again. As ID at Xbox Winter Games Fest demo event coming on December 7th. This comes from Jessica over at ID at Xbox Events Community Management Lead. We're excited to present to you the ID at Xbox Winter Game Fest demo event. Once again, as part of Jeff Keighley's The Game Awards, we're thrilled about how much fans really enjoy being able to dig their hands into these demos. So, here's another opportunity to discover lots of new games coming to Xbox. These start on December 7th and go through until December 21st. 35, Scott, playable demos.
Oh.
They highlighted a couple here. Loot River. Loot River, set in a series of procedural generated labyrinths. Loot River is a dungeon crawling action roguelike that combines the tense real-time combat and dark fantasy styling Dark Souls with a spatial block shifting puzzle of Tetris. It sounds cool. We all know how much I struggle with Dark Souls games.
Oh, everybody does. That's the appeal.
Yep. Then they have a couple here also to mention. They have Death Trash, whatever this one is, featuring a post-apocalyptic world where cosmic horrors long for humanity but are met with punks and shotguns. Well, there you go. Wow, that sounds interesting, Scott. They have also Blacktail, The Tale of Bistan, and none other than Drinkbox themselves are back with Nobody Saves the World. So that's something to keep your eye on, Scott.
Oh, this is interesting. I want to see more about these ones. Death Trash, sounds a little wacky, but I think I'm into that.
Let's get into the world of Sony once again as we get back into the world of their PlayStation VR stuff. Sony Interactive Entertainment files a patent for PlayStation VR2 input device. This comes from Salal over at Twisted Voxel. Sony has filed a new patent that appears to show an input device for the PSVR2. This patent was published by Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan. In the patent, we can see a new form of input device that will use a camera and light emitting units to track the position of the end user's hand. It appears to work in conjunction with a head-mounted display, as shown in the drawings on the patent, suggests that it could be a PSVR2. Dude, I'm always excited to see what PlayStation is up to next. We saw their transition to the Move Wand into what they're now showcasing for our next iteration of handheld controllers. As it stands, most of these patents, they're just hypothetical, and we don't know what will be used in the final version of PlayStation VR2. So it's kind of one of those things, right? We don't know what we're getting into, but they are moving things forward. I'm curious to see, when are they going to announce when we can get our hands on the PlayStation VR2? I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. Do you think it's a year? Do you think it's 2 years out? We just really have no idea because we haven't seen much official news.
Well,
that's it, but
we've seen nothing.
I was really hoping that this would be a Nintendo Power Glove, but made 20, 30 years later. So
no,
advanced.
For sure. We'll see what happens, right? Like the PlayStation VR, the first unit sold 5 million units, which isn't bad, but as Shuhei Yoshida stated a long time ago, this is like PlayStation 1 going into PlayStation 2. This is just the beginning where they started with PlayStation VR.
That gets me excited.
It does, right? Because PlayStation 2 is still one of the best, if not the best. I recall it's still the best selling unit of all time.
It is, yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of those things. I'm excited to see where it goes next. The patent also mentioned that the input device might have a microphone or speaker or more sensors to track the operating state of this input device. Or their quantity supposedly in case of multiplayer games. It's I would expect a speaker. I would expect a microphone. Now they also have the option then to tap in with your own headphones so you can have better quality, because typically the speaker sound system on these units, on the VR handheld or head units, aren't that crystal clear. So if you're able to tap in with your own headset, that makes a lot more sense. And then you'd probably use your own microphone too. But I've used ours within Oculus Quest, the Quest 2, and all these other units, the Rift. So there are functionalities already built into the system. So I'm not too surprised to see it's there.
I only have the Rift S, so I'm not super familiar with everything that's out there. But they also market a headset that is much better than the base unit. So this is all totally normal. It seems kind of cheapening if they don't have their own mic, if they don't have their own speakers. So I'm glad they're checking those off. They will be included.
I'm sure they have a checkbox list of what they all need to hit, right? And come out with a standard. I'm really looking forward to seeing how far this one leaps and bounds over the original PlayStation VR, because we're going to get into a lot higher fidelity of graphics, a lot better for motion sensing, motion sickness, right? Like there's a lot more technology going in behind this one. And they also touched on possibility of haptic feedback, dude, which is...
Oh, that's the one that gets me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It definitely sounds pretty interesting. Scott, let's get going for the end of the day. We have a few games out. Dude, they're hard to find, but they're here. What do we have today?
We have The Castle of Shikigami 2, and that is on the PC. Sorry, almost said the wrong one. It is on the PC, just to make sure that's clear. We have Crimson Clover, World Explosion, and that sounds interesting to me. That is also on the PC. And lastly, we have Spellforce 3, Reforced on PC.
Have you checked out any of the Spellforce games?
I have one on my computer from forever ago, but I cannot recall if I played it or not.
It's such a long history game. Like, it's been around forever. And Spell series, I think, it's got to be something like 20 years old at this point, and it's still left on. I'm kind of curious now. When did Spell series start? Yeah, it's been a while, because Spellforce has been out and around for years. When did it initially start? 2003.
It's Spellforce 3, I think, is the one that I have seen on my console. This one's on my account somewhere.
This one's definitely new and it's out there. But Scott, just like that, dude, that's going to wrap up today's show. Everybody, thank you for hanging out with us and bearing with the technical problems. This has been ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. You can always join us live over on twitch.tv/theofficialITG, as well as YouTube at Inside the Game Official. But if you can't join us live, hit us up later. InsideTheGame.ca, podcast services, TV streaming networks around the globe. I'm Drew, that's Scott, and we'll see everybody tomorrow inside the game.